For all of those Scream fans who were adamant that Stu Macher was still alive, are you all okay? How you guys doing?
You are listening to the Cabin of Horrors podcast. Go behind the scenes of all your favorite horror movies from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now. I am your host, the incredible Josh.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Cabin of Horrors podcast. I hope everyone had a great week. Thank you so much for tuning into this awesome episode that I am so excited to do. We are going over Scream 6. Which obviously has completely taken over social media. It's taken over the airwaves. Anybody who is in the horror community, Scream 6 has been everywhere, right? It is the most popular horror movie right now. And that's why I figured I'm going to see Scream 6, so I might as well review it on the podcast, give my thoughts. And for everyone who got to see Scream 6 on opening weekend, you get to now have a behind-the-scenes look on the film. And we get to have a little bit of a talk about it. So if you've seen it, great. If you haven't, heads up. This is a spoiler-filled episode, as you probably heard by my insinuation at the beginning of this episode, because Stu Macher does not return. Stu Macher is not alive in Scream 6. There's a nice little Easter egg they do, which we'll get into later in the episode, but Stu Macher did not return, which I bet a lot of people were really pissed off about. I haven't really seen anything yet about people like overly upset that the Stu Macher theory didn't pan out, but Stu Macher is dead. He is not, well, I shouldn't say he's dead. He did not make an appearance in Scream 6, but despite that, and despite the fact that Sidney Prescott wasn't in it, I overall loved Scream 6. This film captured everything that a slasher movie and a Scream movie should be, in my opinion. And I hold this movie in such high regard that I think it's better than the original. I actually think that this is the first time a franchise horror movie has outbeat the original in terms of originality, in terms of overall film production, execution, all of it. Scream 6 has it. I love this film. So we're going to dive in, we're going to go behind the scenes, and then talk about all the spoiler-filled things that happen in Scream 6. So before the release of Scream 4, the series creator, Kevin Williamson, he already had Scream 5 and 6 mapped out in his head. But the thing is, he wanted to see what the box office success of Scream 4 was going to be before he signed on to do any future films. And then 3 years after Scream 4 came out, we found out in July of 2014 from Williamson that Scream 4 was actually intended to kick off a new trilogy of films, but Scream 4 never took off in the way that they hoped it would. Williamson also said that he would likely not be involved in any future entries because Wes Craven and his team were quote-unquote done with him. In Williamson's initial pitch, Scream 5 was going to see Jill Roberts being stalked by a killer at her college campus, while Scream 6 was going to feature Gale Weathers as the main character, and it was going to deal mainly with her relationship with Dewey Riley. But in January of 2022, there was a lot of interest in making future films in the Scream series. Courtney Cox even expressed interest in wanting to do a sequel. So the sixth film was officially greenlit on February 3rd, 2022. In May of 2022, it was announced that a big chunk of the cast was going to be returning. The 4 survivors from Scream 5, they were going to be returning and reprising their roles in Scream 6. And not only them, but another survivor was going to be coming back. Hayden Panettiere, and I probably said her name wrong. I never know how to say her last name. But we all know who she is. She is Kirby Reed, who was in Scream 4. She's coming back and reprises her role. She plays an FBI agent who tries to help them find out what the heck's going on with these new Ghostface killings in New York. Later that year in June, we found out that Dermot Mulrooney was going to join the cast, playing a police officer, and Courtney Cox was officially going to be involved with the film as well, of course reprising her role as Gale Weathers. However, on June 6, 2022, and this is, I know everybody's heard this, so we're not going to go into it in too much depth, but it was announced that Neve Campbell wouldn't be returning as Sidney Prescott for the sixth film. She felt basically that she was being undervalued by whatever offer they were giving her. And that's business, right? If you're as much of a popular final girl in the horror community as Neve Campbell is, like really, she held the Scream franchise on her back the first 3 installments, right? We can't argue that. So obviously she deserves to get a pretty penny for her appearances. She didn't feel like she was going to get that. She didn't feel valued enough. So she does not return for Scream 6. This is the first Scream movie that does not even have Sidney Prescott in it at all. There is a mention. They do, talk about Sidney. Sidney is talked about in the movie, but she does not make appearance at all in Scream 6. Which, in my opinion, after seeing Scream 6 now, I'm okay with it. I was on the fence at first because it's really hard not having legacy characters in a horror movie franchise, especially the one that the franchise was built around with to begin with, right? Like, it was Maureen Prescott and Sidney Prescott. That was what Scream was built around. So to kind of branch off and do a whole new trilogy, but in Scream 5, still have Sidney Prescott in some sort of role, but not in Scream 6, it's a risk. Like, that's really risky. You have to have a really good story and hope to hell that your new cast or new ensemble of characters can hold the franchise like Sidney Prescott could. And after seeing Scream 6, I truly believe that they can. They made a movie that was absolutely incredible. It deviated big time from the Scream formula, but really kept true to what the Scream franchise is to begin with. I loved it. I thought it was great, and they can definitely continue with or without Sidney Prescott. I truly believe the Scream franchise does not need Sidney Prescott. They proved it with this movie. They proved it. And I'm sorry for anyone who's offended by that or if I take heat for it. No shade to Neve Campbell. Like, you get what you deserve, girl. You should totally fight for it. 100%. I am on her side. But they did a great job of Scream 6, and I don't even see how they could have put her into it that would have been justice to her character and justice to the story. Like, there's just no way that Neve Campbell could have fit, or Sidney Prescott could have fit into the story of Scream 6. There's no way. It wouldn't have worked. It would have felt too much like fan service, just having the final girl make a cameo appearance. It wouldn't have done her justice, wouldn't have done the story justice. So I'm okay with it. Budget on the film came in at about $33 to $35 million. Okay, and they started principal photography on June 9th, 2022 in Montreal, Canada. Filming then ended in late August of 2022. And Scream 6 went on a viral marketing stunt as well. I don't know if many of you heard about this. They kind of took a page out of Smile's book. I don't know if you guys remember what Smile did last year, where they planted a whole bunch of people at opportune spots at Major League Baseball games. So they would be right behind the pitcher's mound, and they would or not the pitcher's mound, sorry, where the catcher is. I don't know baseball enough, guys. I'm embarrassing myself anyways. So they'd have people there where the camera was on live TV wearing a Smile shirt and just smiling, and that was advertising the movie. People were creeped out going, what the fuck is this? Well, what these guys decided to do was they sent out people in Ghostface costumes to just stand in front of cameras that are on streets, like, street cams and shit like that, and just stare into the fucking camera. So it was all over the news that there's these Ghostface popping up all over these cameras, right? Obviously promoting Scream 6. So kudos to them. They were able to do a viral campaign that obviously worked. And it truly did, because the film came out this weekend, right? It came out on March 10th, 2023, and as of March 12th, 2023, Scream has already made $44.5 million in the US and Canada alone, and another $22.6 million in other territories. So on opening weekend of Scream 6, it has made $67.1 million on opening weekend. That is incredible, considering you got movies like Creed in the box office right now, and it knocked Creed out of the box office, and it made already in one weekend $67.1 million. So what does that tell you guys? We're going to get Scream 7. There's no question that there's going to be another Scream movie. This movie made more than the budget already, because we're looking at a $33 to $35 million budget. It's already surpassed that and made profit in its opening weekend alone. Now, with all the buzz and all the talk that's going on right now about Scream 6, more and more people over the next couple of weeks are going to go out to their theaters and they're going to be watching it. Then you get VOD, then you get DVD and Blu-ray. This movie will probably go on to make I'm going to call it right now. This movie will make at least $150 million. That is what I am calling right now. It will make at least, just on box office alone, it will at least make $150 million. Because I believe Halloween Ends made $250, but I attribute that to the fact it came out in October or around Halloween. I think that really played a part in why it made like $250 million, considering how shit that movie was. Oh, God, I gotta avoid talking about Halloween Ends. Scream itself, I feel like, based on the time of year it came out, its popularity, it'll make at least 150. It has potential to go to 200 million. I really, truly believe that. But I think it'll make at least $150 million in the box office. Now, we're gonna dive into the plot of Scream 6. So this is going to be 100% full of spoilers. I will not be holding anything back. And I'm also going to share a lot of my thoughts as I was watching the movie and things that I think. And I've got a theory for you guys that I truly, truly am like holding on to for Scream 7. So make sure you listen to this, and at the end I'll talk about my theory a little bit. So Scream 6 starts 1 year after the Woodsboro killings that were orchestrated by Richie and Amber in Scream 5. So we're 1 year past Scream 5 now. And we first see Blackmore University film professor Laura Crane. She's being catfished by her student Jason Carvey, who lures her outside a bar in New York City and then ends up killing her while wearing a Ghostface costume. Now, this was very unique for an opening scene of Scream, because you see her in a bar, right? Like, this is how it opens, right? Most Scream movies, they always open the person's at home, whatever, or they're in a movie theater watching Stab. This happened in a restaurant in New York City, and this girl's waiting on a date. She gets a phone call from him, lures her outside, and then gets killed. But then when she gets killed, this dude takes off the Ghostface costumes, tosses it out, walks off, and goes home like nothing happened. It's crazy. And you find out that he's been plotting with his roommate Greg to kill Sam and Tara, the survivors of Richie's killings from Scream 5. And the reason why they want to do that is because they want to be the ones who finish Richie's film. However, Jason receives a call from a different Ghostface, and he gets murdered after he finds his boyfriend completely mutilated in the fridge. And that was the other thing about Scream 6, guys. It was so much more gorier and darker than any Scream movie before it. Like, yeah, there was great kills in other Scream movies, right? Like, you got the ear in the glory hole from Scream 2, and you've got some awesome stab wounds and fucking the Drew Barrymore kill, all that kind of stuff. But Scream 6 really took their kills to a whole nother level. And it just showed a new savagery and brutality that Ghostface can be. Like, Ghostface before was kind of, tame, I would say, compared to Michael, compared to Jason. Like, he still had his way about him, but he was tame. This Ghostface ain't your daddy's Ghostface. Like, this ain't the Ghostface I grew up with. Like, this Ghostface was sick. Savage, dark, brutal. It was just so well done. So now we see Sam and Tara. They're living in New York City along with fellow survivors Chad and Mindy. They're accompanied by a new character who, of course, is sus, right? All new characters in the Scream franchise are sus. The new roommate's name is Quinn Bailey. There's also Mindy's girlfriend Annika and Chad's roommate Ethan. All of them attend the same university, Blackmore University. Sam is seen attending therapy, and she gets ostracized in public because there is an online conspiracy theory going on, which is that she's the one who orchestrated the Woodsboro killings and then framed Richie for it, which I found to be super interesting that they went that route. And this is a theme that plays all the way through Scream 6. The theme of blaming Sam for what happened that night with Richie and Amber, which I thought was interesting because in Scream 1, that was the plan Billy Loomis was trying to put through. Because his idea was to kill Sidney, kill the dad, frame the dad for all of the killings, and then get away scot-free with it. And then you see his daughter getting accused of what Billy Loomis had tried to do, when she hadn't done it. Obviously, we know Richie and Amber were the original Ghostface killers. But I found that to be very interesting for them to put that kind of plot point in this when it was her dad who originally had that idea in the first Scream movie. I really enjoyed that. Good connection. We then meet Quinn's father, who happens to be a detective. His name is Wayne Bailey. He ends up calling Sam in for questioning because her ID was found at the scene of Jason's murder, along with the same Ghostface mask that was used by Richie and Amber at the previous killings. So obviously that sets everyone off into alarm. Shit's going down. They don't know whether they should leave, go, whatever. They decide they're going to head to the police station. Sam gets called by Ghostface at the same time, and on her phone it shows that the call's coming from Richie's phone. And then Ghostface gets super savage and attacks Tara in public, pursues them into a bodega, killing multiple bystanders, and then leaves another Ghostface mask, which happens to be the same one used by Jill Roberts and Charlie Walker in Scream 4, the 2011 Woodsboro killings. So that was another interesting piece, is that they were kind of leaving a legacy behind at each kill, right? Like they had a Ghostface mask from the different killers every time, and they would just drop the mask, do a DNA test, find out that it was one of the previous Ghostfaces, which I thought was a really, really cool kind of Easter egg and nod to previous Ghostface killers. So anyways, they're at the station now, and the two of them meet with FBI Special Agent Kirby Reed, who of course was a survivor from Scream 4, the 2011 killings in Woodsboro. Gale Weathers then also shows up, and this is where we find out what's been happening with Sydney. The only person we're going to find anything, about from Sydney is going to be Gale Weathers. So she reveals that Sydney and her family have gone into hiding because of the most recent Ghostface attacks that are all over the news, which is a good way to kind of, ceremoniously put her on the shelf. It's not like they're saying she's gone forever, right? It's like she couldn't come out to play today. So we're going to put her on the shelf for now, and we may bring her out to play a little bit later. We'll see where life takes us kind of deal, right? So they did mention her, but it was kind of a incidental, she won't be here kind of deal. So now the only alibi that Sam had for Jason's murder, which was she was at therapy with Dr. Stone, is now bye-bye, because Dr. Stone gets murdered by Ghostface and steals Sam's file. He leaves the mask used by Roman from Scream 3 at the scene of the crime. They're then in their apartment trying to enjoy their time when Ghostface shows up in their apartment, and he ends up attacking the group, killing the roommate Quinn and one of the girlfriends, Annika. He leaves the mask that was used by Mickey. Now, with his daughter dead, Wayne's officially taken off of the Ghostface case, but he vows that he's going to avenge his daughter's death. So Gale then mentions that she has found this Ghostface shrine. She ends up taking the group to this abandoned cinema that she apparently had found while investigating all of these Ghostface killings. And it's been set up as a complete shrine to the Ghostface killers, including weapons, outfits, all from each set of attacks across Woodsboro. And then after Gale shows them this, later that night, Gale gets a call from Ghostface, and he begins to torment her about the death of Dewey. Ends up killing her boyfriend and then attacks Gale. But Sam and Tara arrive in time to stop Ghostface from killing Gale. But I'm just going to make this note here because this is going to go to my theory later. She got stabbed the same way Billy Loomis got stabbed when he had survived. That fake stabbing attempt, she was stabbed the same way, and she is still alive. They said she has a weak pulse. So I want to note that there for when we get to my theory later, because I've got a theory. But anyways, the group get together and they agree that they're going to meet up with Kirby back at the Ghostface shrine and try to trap this Ghostface. So they're all on the subway platform, but they end up getting separated and put on two different trains. Unfortunately, Mindy ends up getting stabbed by Ghostface, and when the others get to the theater, Sam ends up seeing a vision of her father. The original Ghostface killer, of course, Billy Loomis. He reminds her that she needs to defend herself and not trust anyone in that theater. Anyone can be the killer. Everyone is a suspect. So he comes back and he reminds her of this so that she doesn't lose her way and doesn't lose her sight. So Sam takes Billy's knife, the one from the original murders, but realizes that they've been locked inside of the theater. Wayne then calls Sam and says that he found out that Kirby was fired from the FBI months prior for being mentally unstable, which I kind of figured. I thought as soon as they all got locked in there and they were all there and Kirby's like, yeah, I cleared the place myself, my thought bubble went off and I'm like, yo, what if Kirby's the killer? What if Kirby is the Ghostface? For the first time in a Scream movie, the survivor is the killer. I just think that's a great concept. I know it's very Saw of me. It's very Jigsaw, the survivor turning out to be the killer. Very Amanda Young, but I think that would be really cool for Scream because it would be a twist that you wouldn't see coming. Who expects the survivors? No one ever expects the survivors, because it never is. So after that phone call, two ghost faces appear and they end up attacking Chad. Tara and Sam try to escape, but Kirby and Wayne both show up at the same time with their guns drawn on each other. Wayne, however, ends up shooting Kirby, revealing himself as a third Ghostface. That's right, it is also the first Scream movie to feature 3 Ghostface killers. I couldn't believe it. I was surprised by that. That was a good little twist to have 3 Ghostface killers, almost like the cult of Ghostface. But what it is actually, it's the family of Ghostface. Because what this is it's Richie's family. Wayne is actually Richie's dad, and he admits to orchestrating the killings along with his other children, Ethan and Quinn. Quinn didn't die. Her death was completely staged and orchestrated. The first time that someone in a Scream movie has been killed, but was actually one of the Ghostface killers, which I thought was a unique twist too, because I didn't suspect her to begin with, because I thought she was kind of just, your typical dumb bimbo, and then she died, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's dead, she's not the Ghostface, but boom, turns out she was. So I like that twist. They did a good job with that. They reveal that their plan all along was to kill Sam and frame her as Ghostface, which makes her the final piece of the shrine they need to honor Richie. Sam and Tara end up fighting them off. Tara stabs Ethan and Sam kills Quinn. Sam then dons her father's Ghostface costume. She puts on the Billy Loomis costume, mask, everything, and stabs Wayne to death with Billy's knife. Ethan then resurfaces, but Kirby, I love this part, Kirby smashes the television set, the same one that killed Stu Macher, over his head, killing him. And she says, I saw that in a scary movie once. And I felt that moment was the producers and the directors and everyone saying, hey, look, we just dropped a TV on this guy's head. Do you think he's still alive? Why would you think Stu's still alive? I feel like that was them telling all the Scream fans, stop with the Stu Macher theories. Stu Macher's dead. He's not coming back. He had a TV fall on his head, people. That's it. That's all. Look, we did it again just to show you that they stay fucking dead. So the film ends with Sam agreeing to let Tara live her life more independently and also agrees to go to therapy. Mindy is still alive, thankfully. She survived the subway attack. She's reunited with Chad and Kirby, and they're all taken to the hospital. Sam stares at her father's Ghostface mask that she still has in her possession, but drops it on the ground and follows Tara into the city, with Scream 6 ending it up. So that is Scream 6. Great movie, great addition to the franchise, and it really leaves it open to continue more Scream movies. This wasn't a definitive end by any means. Like, you don't feel like you have closure yet, but you don't know why, because it's not like there's anything lingering. Like, this movie didn't give you any unanswered questions, except where the fuck's Stu Macher for some of you, I know. This movie really wrapped up all the loose ends, and it answered all the questions that you had. But at the same time, you feel like, but wait, there's more. Like, you just feel like there's more that you don't know yet, but you don't know what that is or why you even feel that way. At least that's my opinion. That's how I felt after watching Scream 6, and I'm really excited for 7. I think it's going to be really cool. If they're going to keep going with the direction of Scream 6 with how brutal and savage it was, I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. And it's the injection that the Scream franchise needed. Like, I know I haven't done a Scream franchise review, which is weird. This is, I think, the first time that I've ever talked about a movie on the podcast, like that's a franchise movie, out of order. Like, I usually, if I'm going to do that, I'll start at 1 and just do a franchise review. But I'm doing 6. I'm going backwards on this. But I'll tell you guys a little bit of what I think about Scream. We'll do a franchise review later on, but I like the first Scream movie. Like, the first Scream movie was super unique. 2 and 3 were meh to me. 4 I absolutely hated, but 5 and 6 are my favorite. I love Scream 5 and Scream 6. I think they're both absolutely awesome teen slasher movies. They're perfect whodunits. I love them both. I consider those to be my 2 favorite Scream movies. Those are my top. Is this new trilogy they're working on? I love it. And you know it's going to be a trilogy. Like, this movie made way too much money. You know they're going to make a 7th one. It would be stupid if they didn't. But I have a theory about Scream 7. Now, if you follow me on Instagram and you check out my stories often, you probably have heard this theory. But for those who haven't, I have a theory about what they're going to do for Scream 7. So they've been doing when it comes to the killers of Scream 5 and Scream 6, they're doing the same thing that they were doing in Scream 1 and 2. Because the killer in Scream 1 was Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, which was the love interest. Same thing in Scream 5, it was Richie, he was the love interest. In Scream 2, one of the Ghostface killers was parent of the child. Same thing in Scream 6. Richie's dad is one of the Ghostface killers. Now in Scream 3, we had Roman, who was the orchestrator of all the events of Scream 1 and 2. He's the one who orchestrated all these events to get back at Sidney Prescott. So I think someone's been orchestrating all of these events, and we're going to find out who that is in Scream 7. And who I think it is Gail fucking Weathers. Because think about it. In Scream 5, she wasn't able to release a book. She had writer's block. She wasn't able to get anything published that was worthy. And then all of a sudden, the Ghostface murders pick up again. And she's back in the limelight. She's writing a book, blah, 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 blah. Gets huge success from all that. Dewey dies, gets to play the sob story, gets to play the widow victim, all that stuff, and reaps the benefits. Scream 7 happens. She's the one who knows about this Ghostface shrine, but the FBI agent Kirby, who's been literally dedicating her career to Ghostface killings, wasn't able to find this shrine. That really would probably be able to be found on forum boards of Ghostface collectors on Reddit. But Gail was able to find it and not Kirby. No. Gail knew where it was because she's involved in this to start. She is the one that's orchestrating this, and I guarantee you she will be the Ghostface in Scream 7. And that will bring out Sidney Prescott, and that'll probably also be enough for Nev Campbell to get more money because they need a good story to come in, and Sidney ends it all, blah, blah, blah. That's my theory. That's what I think is going to happen in Scream 7. I think Gail Weathers is orchestrating this whole thing. I know how crazy that may sound. I know a lot of you messaged me and said, what the fuck? But I stand by it. I truly believe that is the direction they're going with Gail Weathers. But anyways, guys, thanks for listening to my spoiler full review of Scream